Spanish church.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
My
that,
bad.
yeah.
I totally missed your cue. You should have gave me more of a,
No, that's good because that provides context.
Yeah, it
to
provides
the,
context.
like to
So
the specific.
So
yeah.
we had a Spanish church here one
Yeah.
time, and what happened was there was a season where the Spanish pastor kind of had a falling out, so I had to step in even though I don't speak Spanish. So I stepped in, and so I basically became the pastor of it for like 5 months. And every Sunday I would show up, and the only thing I learned was Dios te bendiga. Like, what is it, Nancy? God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you.
So that's all I knew. I'd say that to everyone for everything.
Dios te bendiga.
Right. So during this time period when I take over the Spanish church, I think to myself, I'm gonna modernize it. We're gonna have fun. So I start getting these signs made in Spanish that are like God bless you, and you know, have a great day, but it's all in Spanish, right? And so the first Sunday that we run it out with all of our volunteers, I had 2 people come to me and they said, "Hey, where did you get these signs made?" And I said, "Oh, it's just from a company. They pre-make them." And they said, "Well, that's Caribbean Spanish. That's Puerto Rican Spanish. That's Cuban Spanish. We're Mexican Spanish.
Right.
So by next week, you need to the hyphen is in the wrong. And mind you, we spent like $500 on these signs, and they begin to tell me how different one Spanish word is to another, and how they want it changed. And then there were some few song suggestions I made. And then they said, because I was just trying to listen to good music, top charts, they said, "No, that's El Salvadorian Spanish worship. There's no El Salvadorians here. We're only doing Spanish music that's like X, Y, Z." And I'm thinking to myself, there is so many streams of Spanish. Yeah. So there's actually, in America, there's no such thing as a Spanish church. You have to choose, because then one person looked at me who was he was El Salvadorian, and he was like, "Yeah, a couple years ago we had another Spanish pastor, but he was Mexican, and their Spanish is like Ebonics. It would be like it'd be like for us if like a Southerner came up who was uneducated on stage. And so us El Salvadorians, we don't like Mexican preachers because their Spanish comes off uneducated."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, then I don't know what Spanish church to give you.
Right.
You don't want a Mexican, but you don't want a Caribbean Spanish, right?
Right.
And but Spanish churches in Florida are thriving, but why? Because all the Spanish churches in Florida, they're all coming from the Caribbean. So they all have one culture. So, I got a lot of great friends that are Spanish pastors in Florida, and they're crushing it in the Spanish church. But because they're crushing it, because everyone that's coming to their church is Puerto Rican or Cuban, and they all come from the same area of isles of culture, right? But then you come here to California, and you have, predominant Mexican, but outside of that, most Mexicans culturally, they'd be Catholic for the most part, so they're coming into church. It's just a lot more messier. Than what
There's
people are
more
trying
nuance.
to see,
It's not. It's not right
white
or wrong.
Yeah.
It's not I'm better than you.
Yeah.
My church is better than yours. I'm more faithful to God, to the scriptures.
But we make it sound
a
like
lot
we
of it
boil
is
down
just
into
culture.
Yep.
It's preference. It's culture. It's right now there's a in some sectors there's a growth in Protestants converting to Catholicism, because they want a faith that's more rooted in church history.
Yeah.
So they want a tradition in a world where like it's hard to distinguish what's right or wrong, and we're not even in the society doesn't even know what a woman is anymore, what a man is anymore.
And to a lot of the young people too, a lot of pastors
they want,
are falling out and all that stuff.
They
like
want that
yeah.
stability. They want that tradition. They want that, and so that's not necessarily a right or wrong thing. That's just a preference. Oh, my personality, my character right now prefers this expression.
Yeah.
Or more of a entering a worship space that has more of a sacredness to it, more of a meditativeness to it. So that's not a right or wrong thing. It's just where I'm at in my personal journey. This is more comfortable to me.
I have another friend. I'll end it with this. This is a funny story. So I have a friend that I think this is pretty public knowledge, so I don't think I'm speaking on anything I shouldn't. But Rick Warren's church in Saddleback, he was very famous for a time period where he would create different expression rooms on Sundays, and he would stream into those rooms, his sermon. So basically, they obviously had cameras in his sanctuary, and they would have wires, feeding into all these different rooms, whether it be outdoor, courtyard, youth room, this or that. And you could actually get your own expression leading up till the sermon. So if you were Hispanic, you'd come in and there'd be one room that had Spanish worship, and then you'd be able to go to another room and there would be gospel music for worship, and it'd be mostly black led, and you'd go to another room and be like Korean and all this stuff like that. Well, as they were doing this for a number of years, post service, everyone would stay within their sex after service. So service would get out. Everyone would go pick up their kids from children's church. They'd go pick, who were all intertwined. They were all intermingled, right? They would leave their gospel expression. They would leave their Spanish expression, right? But they all meet in the same courtyard.
Right.
There's the same coffee shop. There's the same cafe.
Right.
And those interests would stay with each other.
Right.
None of them would leave. And finally, his leadership team looked at each other and was like, I don't think this is the gospel. I don't think we as an individual church are meant to try to meet everyone's personal preference.
Right.
I think we as a church need to decide what we are as a church,
Right.
and then let people decide whether this is the right church for them.
Right.
But it's not 31 flavors.
Right.
It's not Burger King. You can have it your way. And they learned a valuable lesson with that, and they said the more we encourage preference, the more we're actually encouraging segregation,
Yes,
right?
that's great.
And so, but at the same time, you should be able to celebrate your preference at the same time of the individual expression.